This is the end of the KAVGC Summit. We should be tired. We should feel weary. But instead, I think all of us feel energized, we feel excited, and I think we are raring to go on the things that we talked about. There's as much to do as it was before when we organized it. And I think that is the sense that we felt across the room those 2 days. The format was quite different. We've normally had about 30 to 50% of the audience being students. We feel, in a sense, we feel the loss of not having allowed many students in, but many of the sessions are completely business-oriented and business-focused, and in that sense, I think the opportunity is to have another engagement with them, which is the ABAI Fest on the 6th and 7th of December. If I was to look back on these last 2 days, it's a very happy blur. There are 4 or 5 different themes that we evolved, hoping that one of them would hit the jackpot in a typical portfolio play. The upside is I think all the 4 or 5 of them went very well. On the creative side, since this is a creative industry, as you saw from the making of Arjun and Arnab talking about the process of making a film, I think it gave a lot of people in the room inspiration on how detailed the process of really developing something is. We see in India very often that we don't spend enough time planning. We don't plan our roads, we don't plan our houses, we don't plan our kids, and of course we don't plan our movies. So I think, at least on that last front, he was telling us how we can go about doing that. So the next time you decide to build a house, please get an architect. So that was the creative side of it. There was lots of other creative sessions that came out with the storytelling panel that really talked about, what is the kernel of the idea that you need to have underlying any content in any format. The other side of the spectrum, you saw people want to develop original content and you want to talk about IP. And we got Sharda Balaji, who came from the legal side. We had Suresh Sitaraman, serial entrepreneur that came from oodles of experience in animation, advertising, and so on. We also had people who are in the thick of doing this for Hollywood. Manoj Menon showed 2 outstanding examples of how you can develop a property that is working with iconic people in Los Angeles, in Australia, and how all of that can be done in India. And that is completely breaking the myth of where one should start creating content. So there was oodles of takeaway on the creative side. Creativity in creating content is not restricted to artistry because there's a lot of technology involved in that. Damien Defrabouville told us very clearly how we can get one format like iconic games that are becoming Hollywood movies. And it begged the question that in India, which is a movie country, can we have movies that go the other way to games and television and so on, which we see too little of. So all of those were inspirational, if I might say that. Changing tracks, we had a major track where the government obviously opened it up. We had the Honorable Minister Shri Patil, who made very encouraging remarks about the fact that we just started with the ABGC policy and kept the doors open for us to increase the dialogue. Many of the takeaways of this conference will actually be our conversation with the government starting this evening at dinner. So this is immediate action. We have an initiative which we started last year to engage with trade commissioners because this is a global activity. ABGC is cooperation and collaboration globally. I'm very happy to tell you that a significant milestone has been reached in this conference with the understanding that we have developed with the Children's Media Conference and the Children's Media Foundation in the UK. Greg Childs was here and he has all but told us that we will collaborate and partner each other's conferences. And that is a phenomenal outcome because they have a 10-year head start in working with youth and kids content. And we're looking forward to making that a reality. On the Trade Commissioner side, we were elevated to saying that now what they do with large established organizations like FICCI and CII, they would like to do for the AVGC sector with ABAI. They actually proposed, and we immediately accepted, that we will create a desk for international collaborations, for new things that come out, for delegations that could go back and forth. And we had the UKTI, we had Canada, we had British Columbia, we had Quebec, we had France, and I'm even missing out a few other countries. Besides the trade commissioners, we had people that came from a town like Nagpur. We had an animation studio that came out of Bhutan. So this little ripple that we created with the KAVGC Summit a few years back is now having larger and larger concentric circles. I think one of the features that we were hoping would work before was the clinics. We actually had Jyotirmoy Saha come and say that after the clinics that he participated in yesterday and today, he actually ran an additional clinic on how to do outsourcing financing and how to do co-productions. And we announced that, and people went and had that session. And the IP clinics and the pitching clinics were a complete success. We had Nish Takia, who won the National Award for Delhi Safari. We had Dr. Ashish Kulkarni, who's made a lot of local content. We had obviously the winner of our coveted ABAI award for Chota Bheem, which was Rajiv Chilaka from Green Gold Animation. And you've seen the papers this morning. 15 to 20 papers here have splashed the event all over their pages, which is significant. It means that we're making news, although that's not the outcome that necessarily we wanted to see, but it's a nice acknowledgement for the fact that we're doing what we do. I'd like to just end by saying that all of these activities are just milestones. The success of this conference depends on what we do next. And therefore, I think continuing the engagement that we started with the communities across technology, across education, across the creative community, and across the international community, I think that's what we want to take forward. I want to end with technology because I think that was a session this morning that was so early that there were fewer people in the room. By the time the matinee show came, it was house full. But they worked the hardest on what they did, and they had the most cool stuff even in the clinic. They showed you mobile motion capture on the fly. I'm assuming that you went and saw it. It was an awesome technology that you can actually now film a guy who's driving a car and import that into a game about a character that's driving a car, and you have real-time motion capture on the move. So those are the kinds of things we want to do. The reason I mention this is I think there'll be nothing more fabulous after this conference than for that technology track to be made into reality by actually establishing a center in Bangalore, hopefully in the next 6 months to a year, with the support of the government and private industry. And if that happens, that would be the biggest smile that came out of this conference. I'd like to end by just quoting two guys who you probably don't know because you're very young. They're Lennon and McCartney. Okay? And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And that was the conference. The funniest animation joke I've heard is, Biren, you make animation? You have to, if you want to know how many animators take to change a light bulb, you have to give me 3 other data points. Number 1, what's the wattage? Number 2, will you put it on? Okay? And number 3, is the bulb there at all?